Most personal finance advice assumes you're a rational calculator who just needs the right information to make perfect decisions. Budget this percentage, invest that amount, avoid these mistakes, as if knowing what to do is the problem. But here's the truth. You probably already know you should spend less than you earn and save for the future. The problem isn't knowledge. It's the emotional, psychological, and systemic barriers that prevent you from acting on what you know. Today, we're exploring Finance for the People by Paco de Leon, founder of the Hell Yeah Group, and a refreshingly different voice in personal finance. De Leon doesn't give you another budget spreadsheet or lecture about avocado toast. Instead, she addresses the real obstacles, the anxiety that makes you avoid looking at bank statements, the shame that prevents asking for help, the beliefs you inherited about money that sabotage your finances, and the systemic inequalities that make financial success harder for some than others. What makes this book revolutionary is its holistic approach. De Leon recognizes that your relationship with money is tangled up with your emotions, your upbringing, your identity, and the economic system you're navigating. Getting a grip on your finances isn't just about tactics. It's about understanding yourself, addressing your beliefs, navigating an unequal system, and stepping into your financial power. The framework De Leon provides has 4 interconnected components: understanding the unequal financial system you're operating within, stepping into your power by taking ownership of your financial life, addressing the beliefs and emotions that drive your money behavior, and navigating the practical mechanics of managing money effectively. These components work together. You can't just fix the tactics without addressing the psychology, and you can't just work on mindset without taking practical action. Over the next 20 minutes, we'll explore each component of De Leon's framework, recognizing how systemic inequality affects your financial reality, developing agency and power over your finances despite circumstances, uncovering and rewriting your money beliefs, managing the emotional side of money, and implementing practical systems that actually work for real humans with complex lives. If you've tried traditional financial advice and it hasn't worked, if you feel shame or anxiety about money, if you suspect your beliefs about money are holding you back, or if you're simply ready for a more honest, human approach to getting your finances together, this is your guide. Let's get a grip on your finances. Chapter 1: Navigating an Unequal System. De Leon opens with what many personal finance books ignore. The financial system is not neutral or equal. Your race, gender, class background, and other identities significantly affect your financial opportunities and obstacles. Acknowledging this isn't making excuses. It's being realistic about the terrain you're navigating. The author explains that traditional personal finance advice often has an implicit assumption. If you're struggling financially, it's your fault. You're not disciplined enough, not working hard enough, not smart enough with money. This framework ignores systemic barriers, wage gaps, discrimination, unequal access to capital, intergenerational wealth disparities, and the way economic policies favor those who already have wealth. De Leon addresses specific inequalities. Women earn less than men for the same work and take career breaks for caregiving that compound over lifetimes. People of color face discrimination in hiring, pay, lending, and wealth accumulation. Those born into poverty lack the networks, knowledge, and seed capital that make wealth building easier. LGBTQ plus individuals face employment discrimination and lack certain legal protections. These aren't excuses. They're measurable realities affecting financial outcomes. But here's De Leon's crucial point. Acknowledging systemic inequality doesn't mean accepting financial struggle as inevitable. It means understanding the game is rigged while still playing to win. It means not blaming yourself for structural problems while still taking responsibility for what you can control. It means working towards systemic change while also making the best financial decisions possible within the current system. The author introduces the concept of financial trauma, ways that economic hardship, instability, or discrimination create lasting psychological impacts that affect money behavior. Someone who grew up in poverty might hoard money even when they have enough, driven by deep anxiety about scarcity. Someone who experienced financial abuse in a relationship might struggle with trust around shared finances. Someone who faced discrimination might feel they have to work twice as hard to achieve half as much. Understanding your financial trauma isn't about dwelling on the past. It's about recognizing how it shapes present behavior so you can make conscious choices rather than being unconsciously driven by old patterns. De Leon also addresses how capitalism creates specific pressures that harm financial well-being. The system equates your worth with your productivity and income. It creates artificial needs through advertising. It glorifies overwork. It ties healthcare and security to employment. These pressures make financial health harder to achieve and create moral judgments about those who struggle. The author emphasizes that you can critique the system while also succeeding within it. You can work toward a more equitable economy while also building personal wealth. You can recognize that poverty isn't a moral failing while also taking actions to improve your financial situation. These positions aren't contradictory. They're necessary. De Leon provides perspective on the role of luck and privilege. Success isn't purely meritocracy, and struggle isn't purely personal failure. Being born into wealth, having parents who taught financial literacy, attending good schools, having health and ability to work, these advantages compound. Lacking them creates obstacles. This doesn't determine outcomes, but it affects starting points and difficulty levels. The chapter includes practical guidance for navigating an unequal system. First, find community with others facing similar circumstances. This reduces isolation and creates mutual support. Second, learn about resources specifically available to communities you're part of, grants, loans, programs designed to address inequality. Third, advocate for systemic change while also making personal progress. Fourth, extend yourself grace when financial progress is slower than you'd like. You might be climbing a steeper hill than others. De Leon emphasizes that financial education itself reflects inequality. Wealthy families teach their children about investing, taxes, and wealth preservation. Poor families can't teach what they don't know. Schools rarely provide comprehensive financial education. This knowledge gap perpetuates inequality. Those who need financial knowledge most have least access to it. The solution is deliberately seeking financial education and sharing it within your community. De Leon advocates for financial literacy as both personal empowerment and community activism. teaching yourself and others, sharing resources, and democratizing financial knowledge that was historically gate-kept. The chapter concludes with De Leon's framework for thinking about systemic inequality and personal action. Acknowledge the systemic barriers. They're real and they affect you. Feel appropriate anger about injustice. It's fuel for advocacy. But don't let acknowledgement of barriers become justification for inaction. Work on what you can control. Your spending, saving, investing, income generation, while also advocating for systemic change. Both matter. Chapter 2. Stepping into your power. De Leon shifts from external systems to internal power, your capacity to take ownership of your financial life regardless of circumstances. This is about agency, recognizing that while you don't control everything, you control enough to change your trajectory. The author addresses financial avoidance, a nearly universal pattern where people avoid looking at bank statements, opening bills, checking credit scores, or calculating debt. Avoidance feels protective. If you don't look, you don't have to feel the anxiety or shame. But avoidance guarantees financial problems worsen because unattended issues compound. De Leon explains that stepping into your power starts with looking at your financial reality without judgment. Not, I'm such a failure for having this debt, but I currently have this much debt, and here's what I'm going to do about it. The shift from judgment to assessment is crucial. Judgment paralyzes. Assessment enables action. She provides a framework for financial awareness. First, know your income, not approximately, but exactly. What's your actual take-home pay after taxes and deductions? Second, know your spending. Track it for at least 1 month to understand where money actually goes. Third, know your net worth. Total assets minus total liabilities. Fourth, know your credit score and what's on your credit report. These 4 data points provide complete financial awareness. Many people resist this exercise because they fear what they'll discover. De Leon acknowledges this fear while insisting that not knowing doesn't make reality less real. It just makes you powerless to change it. Knowledge is power, even when the knowledge is uncomfortable. The author addresses the concept of money shame, the feeling that your financial situation reflects moral failure. Money shame prevents people from asking for help, seeking financial education, or even telling partners about finances. It's isolating and paralytic. De Leon emphasizes that financial struggle isn't moral failure, it's circumstance compounded by decisions that can be changed. Releasing money shame requires separating your worth from your net worth. You're not a better person because you have savings or a worse person because you have debt. Your financial situation is simply information about past decisions and circumstances. It says nothing about your value as a human being. De Leon introduces the concept of financial self-care, treating money management as part of caring for yourself rather than as punishment or obligation. Financial self-care means regularly checking in with your finances, celebrating progress, adjusting when things aren't working, and being as kind to yourself about money as you'd be about physical health. This reframe transforms the emotional experience. Instead of dreading financial tasks, you approach them as caring for a future you. Paying off debt becomes a gift to your future self. Saving becomes loving provision. Budgeting becomes planning for what you actually want rather than restriction. The chapter addresses decision-making and agency. Many people feel their financial decisions are made for them by circumstances. I have to buy this car for work. I have to live in this expensive area. I have to accept this salary. De Leon challenges this. Even when options are limited, there are always options. You might not like your choices, but acknowledging your choosing creates power. This doesn't mean blaming yourself when circumstances truly limit options. It means recognizing the difference between "I have no choice," rarely true, and "I don't like my options," often true. The second framing preserves agency even in difficult circumstances. De Leon provides guidance on taking action despite fear or overwhelm. Start with one small financial task. Log into your bank account, open one bill, check your credit score. Prove to yourself that looking at finances doesn't destroy you. Then do another small task. Build momentum through small wins, rather than trying to overhaul everything at once. She emphasizes that perfection isn't required. You don't need to execute a flawless financial plan. You need to start making slightly better decisions more often. Improve by 1%, not 100%. This sustainable approach prevents the all-or-nothing thinking that causes people to give up when they make mistakes. The chapter addresses the relationship between values and financial power. Many people spend according to habit, social pressure, or advertising rather than conscious values. De Leon recommends identifying your top 3 to 5 values, then examining whether your spending reflects them. If family is a top value but you never spend on family activities, there's misalignment. If creativity matters but you never invest in creative pursuits, you're not living your values. Aligning spending with values creates a sense of power and purpose. You're making conscious choices about what matters rather than unconsciously spending on whatever's marketed to you or socially expected. The chapter concludes with De Leon's power framework. Knowledge of your current financial reality. Acceptance without shame that this is your starting point. Identification of what you can control versus what you can't. Small actions consistently taken. Celebration of progress to build momentum. This framework moves you from passive victim of circumstances to active architect of your financial future. Chapter 3. Addressing your money beliefs. De Leon dedicates substantial attention to the beliefs about money you've internalized, many unconsciously, and how these beliefs drive behavior that keeps you stuck financially. Understanding and rewriting these beliefs is essential for lasting financial change. The author explains that everyone has a money story, a set of beliefs about money, wealth, success, and your relationship to all of it. This story comes from childhood experiences, family messages, cultural conditioning, past traumas, and societal messaging. Your money story runs in the background, influencing every financial decision without your awareness. De Leon provides exercises for uncovering your money story. Complete these sentences honestly. Money is. Rich people are. I can't have money because if I had money, I would. My parents taught me that money. The responses reveal your underlying beliefs. Common limiting beliefs include money is the root of all evil, making wealth morally suspect. Rich people are greedy, bad, creating subconscious resistance to wealth. I'm not good with money, a fixed identity that prevents learning. Money doesn't buy happiness, used to justify not pursuing financial security. I don't deserve wealth, deep unworthiness. Money causes problems, subconscious sabotage to avoid imagined consequences. Each limiting belief creates specific behaviors. If you believe rich people are bad, you'll unconsciously sabotage wealth accumulation to avoid becoming bad. If you believe money causes problems, you'll overspend to avoid accumulating money that might create problems. If you believe you're not good with money, you won't try to learn because it contradicts your identity. De Leon explains that these beliefs feel like truth because they've been reinforced repeatedly, but they're just thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. The first step is recognizing a belief as a belief rather than objective reality. I'm not good with money becomes I've had the belief that I'm not good with money, but beliefs can change. The author provides a framework for rewriting money beliefs. First, identify the limiting belief. Second, examine where it came from, what experiences or messages created it. Third, evaluate whether it's serving you. Fourth, consciously choose a new belief. Fifth, find evidence for the new belief and practice reinforcing it. For example, someone with the belief, I'm not good with money, might trace it to parents who said this regularly. They evaluate whether this belief serves them. Clearly not. They choose a new belief. I'm learning to be good with money. They find evidence. They read financial books. They track spending. They make one good financial decision. They practice reinforcing this new belief by celebrating financial wins and reminding themselves they're capable of learning. De Leon addresses beliefs about what you deserve. Many people unconsciously believe they don't deserve financial success, comfort, or security. This belief manifests in chronic under-earning, refusing to negotiate salary, overspending, self-sabotage, or giving money away to the point of harming yourself. Unworthiness beliefs often connect to childhood experiences, trauma, or internalized oppression. If you received messages that you were too much or not enough, these translate to financial unworthiness. If you internalized racist, sexist, or classist messages from society, you might believe you don't deserve what others have. Healing unworthiness requires consciously affirming your inherent deservingness. You deserve financial security not because you've earned it through suffering, but because you're human. You deserve comfort, safety, and enough resources to live well. This isn't selfish, it's basic self-respect. De Leon also addresses beliefs about scarcity versus abundance. Scarcity mindset sees resources as limited. There's never enough. You must hoard. Spending on yourself means others go without. Abundance mindset sees resources as renewable. There's enough. Sharing doesn't deplete you. Your success doesn't require others' failure. Both mindsets have behavioral consequences. Scarcity mindset creates anxiety, hoarding, inability to enjoy money, and sometimes paradoxically, overspending, the I'll never have more, so I might as well spend now logic. Abundance mindset creates generosity, investment in growth, and healthy financial decisions. The author emphasizes that shifting to abundance mindset doesn't mean pretending you have unlimited money. It means believing in your capacity to create more resources, trusting that opportunities exist, and approaching money from possibility rather than fear. De Leon addresses beliefs about your relationship to systems and institutions. Many people believe the system is rigged against me to the point of learned helplessness, while acknowledging real systemic barriers covered earlier. De Leon distinguishes between productive awareness and paralyzing helplessness. The productive belief is, the system has barriers and I can navigate them. The helpless belief is, the system is rigged, so I can't succeed. The chapter includes guidance on dealing with conflicting money beliefs. Many people hold contradictory beliefs simultaneously. I want to be wealthy, and wealthy people are bad. These conflicts create paralysis and self-sabotage. De Leon recommends making the conflict conscious, examining each belief separately, and deciding which serves your goals. The chapter concludes with De Leon's framework for belief transformation. Awareness, identifying your current money beliefs. Questioning, examining whether they're true and whether they serve you. Choosing, deliberately selecting new beliefs. Evidence gathering, finding proof the new beliefs are valid. And practice, reinforcing new beliefs until they become automatic. This process doesn't happen overnight, but consistent practice rewrites your money story. Chapter 4. Managing the emotional side of money. De Leon addresses what traditional finance books ignore. Money is deeply emotional. Knowing what you should do financially doesn't help when anxiety, shame, fear, or other emotions drive behavior. Managing emotions is essential for financial success. The author explains that emotions around money serve functions. Anxiety alerts you to potential threats and motivates protective behavior. Shame signals perceived social violations and motivates hiding. Fear prevents risky action that might lead to loss. These emotions aren't enemies, they're information. The problem is when they drive behavior unconsciously rather than being processed consciously. De Leon identifies common emotional patterns around money. Anxiety leads to avoidance, not looking at finances, or hypervigilance, obsessing over every dollar. Shame leads to isolation, not asking for help, or overcompensation, overspending to signal success. Fear leads to paralysis, not making necessary decisions, or recklessness, emotional spending to avoid feeling fear. Anger leads to blame, external or internal, or rebellion, spending defiantly. Understanding your emotional patterns is the first step to managing them. De Leon provides exercises for identifying your triggers. What financial situations create anxiety? What spending patterns emerge when you're stressed? What emotional states lead to overspending or financial avoidance? Mapping these patterns reveals the emotional financial connections driving behavior. The author introduces emotional regulation strategies for money management. When you notice strong emotions around money, pause before acting. Name the emotion you're feeling. This simple act creates distance and reduces reactivity. Ask what the emotion is trying to tell you. Decide consciously whether to act on the emotion or override it. For example, you feel anxiety about market volatility and want to sell investments. You name the feeling, anxiety. You ask what it's telling you, potential loss. You decide consciously, is this feeling giving good information, actual threat requiring action? Or is it creating unhelpful urgency based on short-term fluctuations? Often, naming and questioning the emotion is enough to prevent reactive decisions. De Leon addresses emotional spending, using purchases to manage feelings. Shopping when bored, stressed, sad, or even happy becomes a coping mechanism that's temporarily effective but financially destructive. The purchase provides a dopamine hit and distracts from uncomfortable emotions, reinforcing the pattern. Breaking emotional spending requires developing alternative coping mechanisms. De Leon recommends creating a instead of spending list, activities that provide emotional regulation without financial cost. When you feel the urge to emotionally spend, choose an activity from your list. Over time, you rewire the emotional response. The author addresses financial grief and loss, major financial setbacks, job loss, business failure, foreclosure, major debt, create genuine grief that needs processing. Denying the grief or rushing to fix the situation without emotional processing often leads to poor decisions or burnout. De Leon recommends allowing yourself to feel financial grief while also taking practical action. Both are necessary. You can mourn the loss while also making a plan. You can feel the emotions while also taking next steps. This both-and approach is more sustainable than suppressing emotions or wallowing in them. The chapter addresses financial guilt, feeling bad about spending on yourself, feeling guilty about having more than others, feeling guilty about past financial mistakes. De Leon emphasizes that appropriate guilt, violating your values, is useful feedback. Inappropriate guilt, enjoying something you can afford, or having guilt about unchangeable past, is just suffering without purpose. Releasing inappropriate guilt requires self-compassion. You did your best with the information and circumstances you had. Past financial mistakes don't define you. Enjoying your resources isn't taking from others. You deserve comfort and pleasure. De Leon also addresses the emotional complexity of receiving financial help. Many people feel shame about needing help, resentment about having to ask, or obligation toward helpers. These emotions can prevent asking for needed help or create resentment that damages relationships. The author reframes receiving help as part of human interconnection rather than failure. Everyone needs help sometimes. Allowing others to help you gives them the gift of contribution. Receiving gracefully is as important as giving generously. The chapter addresses financial conversations in relationships, often charged with emotion. De Leon provides frameworks for discussing money with partners, family, or friends in ways that reduce defensiveness and increase understanding. Key principles: separate facts from feelings, use I statements, listen without interrupting, focus on values rather than just numbers, and approach with curiosity rather than judgment. She emphasizes that financial compatibility isn't about having identical beliefs or behaviors. It's about being able to communicate about differences and find compromises that honor both people's needs and values. De Leon concludes this section with the insight that financial health requires emotional health. You can have perfect financial tactics, but if you can't manage the emotions that arise, those tactics won't help. Learning to recognize, name, and appropriately respond to emotions around money is as important as learning to budget or invest. Both skills together create financial success. Chapter 5: Practical Systems That Actually Work. After addressing mindset, beliefs, and emotions, De Leon turns to practical mechanics, but with a twist. Her systems acknowledge that you're human, with complex emotions and limited willpower, not a rational calculator. Systems must work for real humans in real circumstances. System 1: the Awareness Foundation. Before creating any system, De Leon insists on complete financial awareness. Spend 1 month tracking every dollar, not judging, just observing. This creates baseline data about actual behavior rather than assumed behavior. Most people discover their spending differs significantly from what they believed. Use this data to identify patterns, fixed expenses that don't change, variable expenses that fluctuate, discretionary spending where you have control, and emotional spending triggered by feelings. These categories inform your system design. System 2. The values-based budget. Traditional budgets often fail because they're restrictive and disconnected from what actually matters to you. De Leon's approach starts with values. Identify your top 3 to 5 values. Then design spending categories that honor these values while covering necessities. If adventure is a value, budget generously for travel. If family matters, budget for family activities. If security is paramount, budget aggressively for savings. The budget becomes a tool for living your values rather than a restriction on enjoyment. Her budget framework includes necessities, 50 to 60% of income, housing, food, utilities, transportation, insurance. Values-based spending, 10 to 20%, aligned with what matters most to you. Savings and debt payoff, 20 to 30%. Building assets and eliminating liabilities. Fun money, 5 to 10%. Guilt-free spending on whatever you want. These percentages adjust based on circumstances, but the framework ensures coverage of necessities, progress toward financial goals, and space for enjoyment. System 3. The automation infrastructure. De Leon is adamant about automating everything possible. Human willpower is limited, and emotions interfere with consistency. Automation removes decision points where failure occurs. Set up automatic transfers, checking to savings on payday, checking to investment accounts on payday, checking to debt payments on due dates. You never decide to save. It happens automatically. You simply live on what remains. She recommends using multiple checking accounts for different purposes: necessary expenses, discretionary spending, bills. This prevents accidentally spending money needed for fixed expenses. System 4. The debt elimination strategy. For those with debt, De Leon provides a humane approach. First, separate debt into categories: toxic high-interest debt, credit cards, payday loans; moderate interest, student loans, car loans; and low interest, mortgages. Attack these in order of toxicity. For high-interest debt, use either snowball method, smallest balance first for psychological wins, or avalanche method, highest interest first for mathematical optimization. De Leon slightly favors snowball for most people because psychological momentum matters more than marginal math differences. She emphasizes that debt elimination while still enjoying life is sustainable. Debt elimination through misery isn't. Budget some fun even while aggressively paying debt. The goal is progress, not punishment. System 5. The investment framework. De Leon makes investing accessible rather than mystifying. For most people, she recommends simple index fund investing through retirement accounts. Maximize employer match first, then IRAs, then additional retirement contributions, then taxable accounts. She explains that you don't need to understand complex strategies. Broad market index funds with low fees, consistently funded, held for decades. That's it. Complexity usually indicates someone selling something, not better investment. De Leon addresses common investment fears. Losing money, volatility is normal. Losses only occur if you sell low. Not knowing enough, you don't need expertise for index investing. Waiting for the right time. The right time is now and consistently. She demystifies investing as simply owning pieces of companies that grow over time. System 6. The emergency fund approach. Build emergency savings to 3 to 6 months of expenses. This provides buffer for job loss, health issues, or unexpected costs without derailing your financial plan. De Leon recommends building this before aggressive investing beyond retirement match. Start small if necessary. Even $500 provides buffer for minor emergencies. Build gradually. The psychological benefit of an emergency fund exceeds the marginal investment returns you might gain by investing that money instead. System 7. The regular review rhythm. Financial systems require maintenance. De Leon recommends monthly money dates, scheduled time to review spending, check progress toward goals, adjust as needed, and celebrate wins. This prevents drift and catches problems early. Quarterly, do deeper reviews. Is your budget working, or does it need adjustment? Are you on track for annual goals? Are there any major decisions to make? Annual reviews assess whether your overall financial strategy aligns with changing life circumstances and values. System 8. The support structure. De Leon emphasizes that managing money alone is harder than necessary. Build support through accountability partners, financial communities, or professional help when needed. Having someone to discuss financial decisions with, celebrate progress with, or ask questions of dramatically improves outcomes. She addresses when to seek professional help, when you have complex tax situations, when you're overwhelmed and can't get started alone, when you have significant assets requiring sophisticated planning, or when financial anxiety is severe. Good financial advisors or therapists can be worth the cost. System 9. The flexibility factor. De Leon's most important system principle. Build flexibility into everything. Life changes, circumstances shift. Perfect execution is impossible. Your systems must accommodate imperfection without collapsing. If you overspend one month, adjust next month, rather than abandoning the budget. If you miss investing one month, resume the next month. If your situation changes, adjust your system rather than giving up because it no longer fits. Flexibility creates sustainability. The chapter concludes with De Leon's system philosophy. Systems should serve you, not enslave you. If a system creates stress or doesn't match your reality, adjust it. The goal is progress toward financial health, not perfect execution of someone else's ideal system. Chapter 6. Bringing it all together. In the final section, De Leon synthesizes her framework into an integrated approach to financial transformation that addresses all dimensions: systemic, psychological, emotional, and practical. She emphasizes that lasting financial change requires working on all levels simultaneously. You can't just fix the practical systems without addressing beliefs and emotions. They'll sabotage your systems. You can't just work on mindset without practical systems. Beliefs without action don't create change. The holistic approach is necessary. De Leon provides a transformation roadmap. Month 1. Build awareness through tracking all spending, identifying money beliefs, and naming emotional patterns. This month is about observation without judgment. Month 2. Begin addressing one limiting belief through the rewriting process, while also setting up basic automation for savings and bill pay. Month 3. Create your values-based budget and implement the full automation infrastructure. Months 4 through 6. Focus on consistency with your systems while continuing to address beliefs and emotions that arise. This gradual approach prevents overwhelm and builds sustainable momentum. You're not trying to transform everything overnight. You're building foundation, then structure, then consistency. The author addresses what to do when you fail or slip. Everyone does. You overspend, You skip saving. You make an emotional purchase. De Leon emphasizes that these moments don't erase progress. They're information about what needs adjustment. Did you overspend because your budget didn't include enough fun money? Adjust. Did you skip saving because the automatic transfer timing was wrong? Fix it. Did you emotionally spend because you haven't developed alternative coping mechanisms? Work on that. Failure becomes feedback rather than condemnation. This self-compassionate approach maintains motivation through inevitable imperfection. De Leon addresses the relationship between individual financial health and collective well-being. As you build financial security, she advocates using some resources for community support and systemic change. This might mean donating to causes, supporting community organizations, sharing financial knowledge, or advocating for policy changes. Building personal wealth while also contributing to others' financial well-being creates purpose beyond just accumulation. It also acknowledges that individual success within an unjust system doesn't eliminate the injustice. Collective action matters. The author provides perspective on financial goals evolving over time. Early financial goals might focus on debt elimination and emergency fund building. Mid-stage goals might emphasize retirement saving and wealth building. Later goals might include legacy planning and impact investing. Your financial strategy should evolve as circumstances and priorities change. De Leon addresses the question of enough. Many people never feel financial security because they lack a clear definition of enough. She recommends calculating your enough number, the amount at which you feel secure and can shift focus from accumulation to maintenance and enjoyment. This prevents endless striving, disconnected from actual needs. The chapter includes De Leon's long-term vision of financial transformation. You've addressed limiting beliefs and internalized empowering ones. You've built emotional regulation skills around money. You've created systems that run automatically and serve your values. You've built emergency savings and eliminated toxic debt. You're consistently investing for future. You make financial decisions consciously rather than reactively. You feel agency rather than victimhood around money. This transformation isn't about becoming wealthy, though wealth may result. It's about moving from financial anxiety and avoidance to financial confidence and empowerment. It's about money serving your life rather than your life revolving around money stress. De Leon concludes with encouragement. Your current financial situation, whatever it is just your starting point. Your past financial mistakes don't define your future. You're capable of learning, changing, and building financial health. The path isn't linear. There will be setbacks and challenges. But consistent effort toward awareness, addressing beliefs, managing emotions, and implementing practical systems creates lasting transformation. She reminds readers that getting a grip on your finances is ultimately about freedom. Freedom from anxiety, freedom to make choices based on values rather than desperation, freedom to live according to your priorities rather than others' expectations. This freedom is available to you, regardless of your starting point. We've explored Paco de Leon's comprehensive framework for getting a grip on your finances, understanding that systemic inequality affects your financial reality, and choosing to navigate it skillfully, stepping into your power by taking ownership despite circumstances, addressing the beliefs about money that drive your behavior, managing the emotional side of money rather than being controlled by it, and implementing practical systems designed for real humans with complex emotions and lives. The power of De Leon's approach is its honesty and humanity. She doesn't pretend financial success is just about discipline or information. She acknowledges the emotional, psychological, and systemic dimensions that make this work genuinely difficult. But she also shows that difficulty doesn't mean impossibility. You can get a grip on your finances through integrated work on all these dimensions. Let's recap the core framework. Navigate the unequal system by acknowledging barriers while still taking action. Step into your power through financial awareness without shame. Address limiting beliefs by identifying and rewriting them. Manage emotions by recognizing their signals without being controlled by them. Implement systems that work with your humanity rather than against it. Here's your action plan. This week, complete the financial awareness exercise. Track every dollar, check your net worth, know your credit score. Identify one limiting belief about money and begin the rewriting process. Name one emotional pattern around money and create an alternative coping mechanism. And set up one automated financial action, even if it's just automatically transferring $25 to savings each payday. These small steps begin the transformation. Financial health isn't built in a day. It's built through thousands of small, conscious choices that compound over time. It's built through addressing beliefs and emotions while also taking practical action. It's built through self-compassion when you fail and celebration when you succeed. Most financial books give you tools and tell you to be disciplined. De Leon recognizes that you need more than tools. You need to understand yourself, your beliefs, your emotions, and the system you're navigating. With that understanding, the tools actually work. If this summary resonated with you or showed you why traditional financial advice hasn't worked, let me know in the comments what insight was most valuable. And if you want the complete framework with exercises, examples, and De Leon's refreshingly honest voice, pick up Finance for the People. It's not just another finance book. It's a guide to financial transformation that actually acknowledges your humanity. Until next time, remember, you're not broken if personal finance has been hard. The system is complex, emotions are powerful, and beliefs run deep. But you're capable of getting a grip on your finances through honest awareness, conscious belief work, emotional management, and practical systems. Your financial transformation starts now. Thank you for watching.